place you're familiar with but is out of the country. And you decide, well, you're going to go into town and see some of your friends that you've made over the years, have a quiet dinner, and just start off your vacation. On the way out, stop at the bar to talk to one of the bartenders, take a trip to the bathroom, and on the way back, the unthinkable happens. Take a header from the top of a short staircase and fall down to the bottom, landing face first on a concrete plank.
Oh, please.
In that instant, your life changes forever. My name is Brian McLaughlin, and I died in a hospital in Mexico 22 years ago. And from the injuries that, from this story and the injuries that I sustained from that, I died. I flatlined and died in the hospital. From that incident, I had what most people refer to as a near-death experience. When you actually pass over to the other side, experience a multitude of things that you're not familiar with, and encounter some people that from your life. It was then that I wound up ultimately meeting up with my deceased father, and he was the one that sent me back. He spoke those words to me, you have to go back. And I was very disappointed that I had to go back. It was a place of indescribable peace. Felt very surrounded by love from what appeared to be the intense light around me, which I would have to assume is some sort of supreme being, God, whatever you choose to call your maker. And so many things came to me. In my father, just meeting my father, he smiled at me, smiled one of those understanding smiles that I'm sure you've all felt from one person or another, that, as I said in the book, said 1,000 words to me, all of which I understood. So, although disappointed, I had to come back, and it just wasn't an easy thing for me to do. It was a place that was so comfortable and so peaceful and so loving. It's beyond description. I'll do my best here today to describe some of it to you, but it is very hard to describe, because there's nothing that we have here on earth to compare. And I think that the people with the strongest faith probably are the biggest believers in an afterlife, or in heaven, if you will. And they take very little convincing to believe my story. Others maybe not quite so ready to believe it, but they think about it, try to fit it into their own belief system. Everybody has one. And so while I was there, I felt bombarded with heightened senses. I call them heightened senses. And these weren't your typical senses that we have here, like sight, sound, touch, taste, whatever. These senses are of awareness, intuition, clarity, those sort of senses. And although no one spoke the words to me, I just felt as though it was all coming at me at once. And when my father told me I had to go back, he turned from me, and I turned from him, and at that instant, I opened my eyes in the hospital. So, people generally ask the same question: how long were you there? And I give them the same answer: I really don't know. From the gifts, I call them gifts or benefits, that I received while I was there, in the form of knowledge, felt like it had to be hours, at least. When realistically, it was probably only minutes, as long as it might take them to revive me. But I had no sense of time while I was there, so it's hard to describe how long I was there. Normally you have a sense of time, even if you don't know exactly. You can kind of figure out, it was about 10 minutes or whatever it is. But when you have no sense of time, it's just impossible to even guess at. Impossible. So anyway, not that it mattered to me, and it still doesn't. It doesn't matter to me how long I was there. What matters to me was what I got from the experience. What did I get beneficially from such a difficult event? And so the biggest part of the experience for me was managing those things that I spoke of, those heightened senses, the purest form of love and connection to everyone else's energy, if you will. How to manage that in my life here. It's not an easy thing to do. It's so foreign to what we deal with every day that solutions are hard to find. So it took me probably somewhere in the area of 10 to 15 years to come to grips with it enough to talk about it, to write a book and put it all out there. It's something that most people retreat from because of how it's received by other people. Everybody receives it differently. Some believe, some don't. Some think you're nuts, and some agree. So there's a whole array of different takes on it, and so it makes you hesitant to go out and shout from the rooftops that you just had this experience. You don't know how the person's going to take it. So, also in trying to explain that I was disappointed in having to come back was difficult on my wife. She started crying right away as soon as I said that, and it's understandable, when you figure that. In my mind, everybody has a preconceived notion of heaven and the afterlife, and I'm no different. And one would think that given the opportunity to return, you would jump at it. Absolutely, right? Because it happened in an instant. No chance to say goodbyes or things like that. So you would think normally that you would just jump at the chance to come back. Well, I was very disappointed that I had to come back. She didn't think much of it, and it took me. So I just stopped talking about it. I didn't really bring it up to anyone. I just on the shelf in the back of my mind, and figured, well, another day. Over the years, through talking little bits and pieces here and there, I think I was able to get across to her that I wasn't disappointed to come back because I was unhappy here. And I had to explain the whole thing to her of just how fulfilling it was there, that I would be disappointed. And I think over time she realized that I wasn't disappointed because I was unhappy here. It was for other reasons. And with that, she was able to give me some support and understand why I said those things, why I was disappointed. And actually it was her that prompted me to write the book. I had pretty much put it on the shelf, forgotten it was there. And even to my family, I didn't talk about it with my family. So once she kind of gave the okay, then we started to explore sharing it with other people. When you're in that position of dying, and you realize just that, I mean, you were there, I was there. You know, I had already taken the trip. And so you wonder at some point, well, why was I sent back? Must be some reason that I was sent back. And I struggled with that for a good many years. And I don't know that I have a complete answer to that yet. But one of the big motivators for me would be to try and share the experience with others that might be concerned, who have questions. I mean, everybody's thought about it at some point or another. I know I had. So, you know, it's something that we all share. Although we don't talk about it much, it's something that's in there. You think about it, you all admit I've thought about it. So, if I was able to bring some comfort to someone who had, you know, real concerns about it or was really bothered by it, yeah, I would feel that would be part of the reason that I was sent back. And also be very satisfying. And so, I do talks, I do, you know, I have a internet television show that I do once a week, and through a few other avenues, I try to reach out to people who may have concerns and questions, and just see if there's some way that I can help them with that, because there's really very few people that have the information that you're looking for. You know, you want to know what it's like on the other side, what it's like getting there, what it's, you know, you more or less have to speak to somebody who's been there. So your input becomes valuable at some point. So I don't know. I know that some of you have probably read the book. I go into different avenues of the experience, and as I describe in the book, I went in with a preconceived notion of what heaven would be like, as I'm sure many of you probably have, you know, of your own. I spent a good number of years in parochial school, up to and including a year of Catholic college. So it's and yet I didn't consider myself an overly religious person. This experience, however, changed that. And although I couldn't say today that I'm more connected to one particular religion or another, or a structured church or another. I would have to admit that it certainly enhanced my relationship with God and brought me certain clarity and understanding of different even church teachings and different dogmas and just dealing with people. I think what most religion teaches, and down in the basics, the goodness and kindness that other people are looking for, and I think that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned. It's not always easy to put that into practice. Not perfect. Probably still considered a work in progress. But I have the basic knowledge of really what I should be doing, how I should treat other people, how maybe in a perfect world how it would be for all of us. And so that's what I try to do, and that's what I set out to do. Another one of the things that I picked up while I was there was really an ability to overcome fear. Fear is a big issue for people. It holds us back from achieving many things. It gets in the way of a lot of things that we try to accomplish, even on a day-to-day, daily basis. You deal with fear, and I have different ways that I approach overcoming that I start to share in the book, and also try to give some indication when I speak of how to approach that and the benefits of doing that. Through the first 10 or 15 years, as I said, trying to think about it, trying to put it on the shelf and out of my mind, I was very skeptical about what this experience was. I looked for every excuse for it to be something else other than a near-death experience, because it appears very final in your mind. You're like, wow, what? I was there, you know. But for the fact that I got sent back, I mean, I was gone. I was whatever. I mean, all the groundwork was laid, and so. The expectations change. My expectations change with the fearlessness. I chose to test all of those things that I felt that I had gotten from being in heaven, all those heightened senses and so forth. I wasn't satisfied just accepting it. To me, it was more scary stuff. So I set out to test it, and I did just that. I tested that fearlessness. I seized opportunities that were basically obscure. They weren't obvious in any way, and I just worked through my fear and went after those opportunities. And most of them, if not all of them, have been very successful for me. And it's very rewarding, and not just in a physical sense, but it's rewarding that those things, those insights and so forth that I kind of felt were gifts and kind of felt were real and tangible and usable, really were. I tested them out, and it really was true, which allowed me to move ahead, if you will, at a faster pace and utilize some of those things, in particular overcoming fear, to my advantage. Put that to practical use and get something from it.
I'm going to go now.
One of the things that I had a company that I was doing work for a concern nationwide, and they needed someone to do some computer graphics work for them. So I told them that I could do that, and I didn't have a clue.
Okay.
I didn't have a clue how to get started. You know, how to just do the job. And again, I just forced myself through it, and it became very successful. And that was, probably somewhere around 18 years ago. And I still do it today. It's on a smaller scale because I spend a lot of time with this stuff. But again, for me, it was proof of a concept of overcoming fear. All those little things that add up to validate for me those benefits that I received while I was there.